Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. Listen, scream, and embrace your horror obsession. I'm your host, Elazar, and in this episode, Jesse joins me to dive into Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth. Is Pinhead growing in power? Are dreams gateways to something darker? And what do you think of the new Cenobites? If you dare to follow us, all our social links are in the description. Next week on the podcast, Abigail. But first, a film that asks, what would you do for one last conversation with the dead? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Nightmare Echoes. I'm your host, Elazar. I'm joined again by co-host Jesse. Jesse, how's it going?
I am just doing all hellish or something.
What are we covering today?
Hellraiser 3, the third installment in this very fine and sophisticated series of highbrow films.
It's subtitled Hell on Earth. After we had Hellbound, and now that we're back on Earth, we're calling this one Hell on Earth.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's directed by Anthony Hickox. If I could talk a little bit about pre-production, there was a lot of different ideas after the second one. Peter Atkins, who wrote it, was working with Tony Randall on proposed sequels, and the first idea they came out with was a 4-page treatment in which Julia from the first two movies had escaped hell. There was a detective who was going around looking at all these murders where people, their faces were missing, and you would find out halfway through the movie that Julia was back, and that she's been stealing the people's faces so she can hide on Earth as she tries to reclaim the crown of Queen of Hell. They had a 4-page treatment on this. It looked like they were going to get a green light, but the actress that played Julia decided that 2 films was enough for her, and she wanted to move on for the franchise. So that scrapped that idea. They talked about a couple other things that were happening. The original director, who was going to be Tony Randall, after one company was bankrupt and bought by another company, they didn't see eye to eye with this director. They let Tony Randall go, but Peter Atkins was still on to write it, so they didn't have a problem with him writing it. Then they brought in Anthony Hickox to direct it.
And apparently, Clive Barker was not happy with Anthony Hickox being the director, I heard from someone on the internet.
Well, it goes back and forth, because I listened to 3 different commentaries. From each decade, they put out a new commentary kind of thing. Doug Bradley and Anthony Hickox talked about how Clive Barker was originally not very involved. They wanted to go a different direction, so they paid him to take his name off the movie. Then some studio had realized that they would make more money if they had Clive Barker's name on it. So they paid him again because they already had a contract. And as Doug Bradley puts it, he's not no dummy, or he's not stupid. You're going to pay me twice for the same doing not much. Yeah. I'll take the money. So they paid him again. The movie starts with Clive Barker Presents, which I think did annoy Anthony Hickox a little bit that his name wasn't until the very end of the movie. But some directors do that. They wait till the end of the movie and they're like, directed by.
Yeah.
And so at that point, Clive Barker came in at the editing, and he was able to give suggestions to Anthony Hickox on how to edit the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wasn't there until the very end, though. But he got paid twice to do almost nothing.
It does seem to me that I think I do agree that the third one is cheesier than the first 2. And the first 2 are already a little cheesy.
Yeah, I agree.
More than a little. But I mean, this one is really cheesy.
Yeah. One thing that they talk about, because I watched a lot of special features, they say when they filmed it, this was what kids were wearing at clubs. They went to the locals in North Carolina where they're at, and they said, hey, would you like to be an extra in a Hellraiser movie? All you got to do is bring your best party clothes that you would bring when you went to a club, and people showed up. They needed to be really nice clothes, and they allowed them in to have no facial hair, because they said a bunch of the teenagers were doing these fake little tiny mustaches.
Oh, that looks so bad.
And they were like, nope, you're going to shave your facial hair if you want to come in. And so that's the only rule they did. But those clothes and all the outfits that they wear that now look dated and flashy and ridiculous.
That's not what's corny to me about
the
movie,
all right. Sure. Okay. But yeah, it was obviously low budget. I don't know. The more times I watch it, the more I actually like this movie.
I wouldn't necessarily say I disliked it, just that it's very cheesy.
Yeah. Which is kind of what goes on through this series, right? 4 had a lot of problems during production. 5, I actually like a lot. I heard someone online that quoted, this movie is way better than it deserves to be when it comes to part 5. So I'm first fascinated about that. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Yeah, sure, it's cheesy, it's low budget, but it continues the story. I like some aspects about it.
Oh, yeah, me too. What I really didn't like, the cheesiness aspect that I really wish wasn't there, is the terrible acting.
Okay.
I felt like the acting in this movie was absurdly bad. It may be some of the worst acting I've ever seen in a major movie, actually. I
Okay.
was impressed with how bad it was, and it took something away from every scene a little bit just because the acting was so strained.
Hands down everybody, or the two female leads and that one male lead?
Maybe not quite everybody, but
Yeah.
just a lot of the acting was super bad.
I can get with you. There was definitely a scene with the two female leads together that I was like, oh, that's kind of bad.
Yeah.
I think Doug Bradley is still an amazing actor. He's Pinhead.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
No, Pinhead is great.
Right.
No, I'm not saying Pinhead.
And then our lead male villain is over the top, which is funny because everybody that worked with him says he's such the nicest guy in the world. And for him to just like hone this villain guy
Yeah.
is just like they're kind of shocked at how well he did it because he's
Yeah,
such a nice guy.
I do, but I do think it came across as
Cheesy.
corny and hammy.
I get
Yeah.
it. Okay.
I will say that I think maybe what I liked most was that some of the set design was really interesting and kind of neat and fun to look at.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the sets.
Yeah. Oh, one of the other versions that was pitched but never greenlit was that Pinhead was going to open a brothel. He's like, but scarier. Trust me, it would have been scarier. But they talked about.
I want to see that.
I don't. They talked about the different treatments that were
It'd be X-rated, I guess.
right. That were bounced around, and they actually in the commentaries talked about things that were supposed to happen in 4 or 5 but didn't. But I could talk about when we cover 4 or 5. So Peter Atkins, who wrote this, he wrote Part 2, 3, and Bloodlines. And then later down the line, he did a couple of Hellraiser shorts. He also wrote the first Wishmaster movie. The movie opens up with our main villain guy, J.P. Monroe, pulling up to a building and getting out to light a cigarette. He walks into Pyramid Gallery, which is a showroom where people buy art, which I can't imagine they would allow smoking in, but he is smoking. And I guess it's the early 90s, so maybe they did.
I mean, back then, more places allowed smoking.
Yeah. So he's walking around, actually touching some of the art. He walks by the demonic Pillar of Souls that grew out of the mattress at the end of Hellbound Hellraiser 2. He's looking at another piece of art when the pillar starts to spin and seems to call to him. On the pillar, we could see the Lament configuration puzzle box, as well as Pinhead and maybe sexual-looking bodies.
But those all appear to be carved on the pillar. Like,
Yes.
It's not. We don't actually see, at this point at least, the real puzzle box.
But the cube, well, I thought it was kind of just stuck in there.
Oh,
to
so
me.
you didn't think it was a carving. You thought that was the real thing.
I thought that was the real puzzle box.
Okay, I guess I wasn't clear on that.
But it does change its look throughout the movie, like it's healing itself.
Oh, does it? I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay.
So then out pops the Puzzle Guardian, played by Lawrence Mortoff, which is one of the producers on this film. And one thing they pointed out throughout the commentary, there's something like 15 people that play parts in this movie that are all already being paid to be on the movie. And they basically said, hey, put this on. You're going to be this character. They didn't get acting credits at all. It wasn't a union movie. They basically like, you're getting paid to do this already. Jump up here. You're going to be this person real
That's
quick.
amazing. Okay.
Yeah. Doug Bradley joked that he thinks there were only 4 actors that actually got paid for this movie, which I don't think that's true because there's small minor roles in there too.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that played roles were also doing something else. He goes in there. He sees the statue, the pillar. He asks the Guardian if it's his, and he says, no, that it's yours. And JP's like, it's mine. How much does it cost? And he goes, what do you think it's worth? He pulls out a stack of $100 bills. The Guardian grabs it, says, that's exactly the figure I was looking for, and he takes it with him. A lot of the people in the commentary joked he was actually just some bum that walked in, sold him the piece. The guy handed him hundreds of dollars, and he's like, perfect, I'll take it.
Yeah, right.
And I'm out of here. Which is funny. But the Puzzle Guardian tells him to take pleasure in it. Then we cut to Joey Summerskill, played by Tara Farrell, who I know best from Deep Space Nine, but I also loved in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. She played Jadzia Dax.
I see.
Yeah. She's a reporter. She's reported in an emergency room. She's very pissed off that she was sent to the ER and is on a night that absolutely nothing's happening. Her cameraman, who is Doc, tells her that the people in this assignment could have had no idea that nothing would have happened that night. He leaves because he has to go help film at a hostage situation. He offers her to give her a ride home, but she's like, no, you'll miss your money shot. Before she leaves, a male patient is being rolled in on a stretcher and is followed by another character named Terry, which confused the heck out of me. Because one actress is named Terry who doesn't play the character named Terry. They named the other character Terry, which...
I could see how that could be a problem.
With my mind a little bit. But that person on the stretcher has all these hooks and chains that are in him that are dragging along as they go into this surgical room, which is not in any way sterile because the reporter's in there with no gear on, like a bouffant, surgical gown. They just have this surgical room that she was in there reporting from. But they all go in there. They stop Terry or Joey from going into the room. Joey tries to interview Terry, but she's like, it's not my fault. It had nothing to do with this. She gets out of there really fast.
Yeah.
As Joey turns around, this electric show starts to happen in the surgery room where all these very visible blue electricity things start shooting up and electrocuting people. The chains go up to the ceiling. The guy on the bed's head explodes, and then it pans over to the heart monitor to show us that he's flatlined in case we didn't know he died from the head exploding.
Yeah, that's kind of more of what I mean by cheesy. But also, why were the chains, like, this is different from the way it usually works. Why did the chains just stay on him but stay dormant until they got into the, like, that's weird.
Yeah, that's different.
It's really strange.
So a lot of what happens in this movie, the writer says that because Pinhead was separated from his human half, that he became freer to become this more Freddy Krueger-like character.
I see.
Who does things like in the second movie, when Pinhead arrives to find that the girl that was mute, Tiffany, had opened the puzzle box, he says, it's not her. She didn't drive this decision. It's someone else is making her do this, and they don't take her to hell.
Right.
They're going for Dr. Chenard. But in this movie, they just started attacking and mass killing random people.
Right, because of that.
Because the human side of Pinhead is no longer in.
I did get that. That was a major point in the movie. The fact that he was separated from himself. He's got to have both halves to be the perfect, principled, sadistic monster that he really should be.
We see Joey riding in the bus. A homeless man bangs on the window to scare her. It's really just established that they're in New York City. We do get a shot of the two towers, although the movie was really filmed in North Carolina. At work, Joey's given a hard time by a guy that's telling her that if she really wants the viewerships, she needs to be showing more leg. Doc tells the guy to give her a break, and she says she wants to do the right thing. Tight stories, not tight skirts. Although I would like to note that she's wearing a very tight and short skirt in this scene. And in the commentary, someone blamed the Weinsteins for that. Like Bob Weinstein insisted that her skirt be tighter and shorter.
It's funny. I mean, and the whole movie is so much about sex, just like the other two were.
Yes,
I mean, it's no big shock.
Right. We cut to the boiler room, which is a big set that they have for this movie. It was an actual club in North Carolina. Inside, the real band Soup Dragons is playing their song Divine Thing. When she enters, there's a lot of artwork that already looks like if it was inspired by the Pillar of Souls, but because we know that this club is already there, the Pillar of Souls just fit his decor that he already had.
He's a BDSM guy.
Right.
It's a BDSM club, the whole thing at some level, because we know that in the background, that's kind of what's going on. And it's weird to me, though, because the name, the Boiler Room, doesn't seem to fit the theme. Like, it's clearly BDSM themed. Like, there's chains and whips and stuff everywhere.
Right.
But the name, I mean, I guess the connection is the boiler room boiling, kind of like hell, maybe something. I don't know. It's a weird name. And I think I complained about something like that in a previous Hellraiser movie as well, about a name of something not quite fitting the theme. But that's just me being picky.
Yeah. What I did want to point out about the lyrics of the song Divine Thing was that the lyrics are, I could have sworn that you were an angel, but I should have known that you were a devil.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool.
That is very apropos.
So Joey goes around trying to find Terry based on her descriptions. The first person she goes through is the bartender, who is played by the writer Peter Atkins. Although, because the club was so loud, they had to redub all the scenes in the club, which could help towards that bad acting, since they didn't record any of their voices at the right time and it was all redubbed.
Yeah.
Was actually the voice of the director, since the writer was no longer around at post-production.
And the redubbing was also very noticeable.
Right.
They didn't do really any attempt at putting the right atmospheric effects on the voices, although I think that was pretty common back then to just not freaking care.
Yeah. So all these people dancing in the club to show this partying, and we do get our obligatory topless blonde woman dancing in a horror movie.
Since it seems like the actresses are all just random strippers that they found somewhere or something, maybe
Yeah.
that's not so surprising. I'm being too mean, but
Right.
the acting was really bad.
So then she gets into this restaurant, nicer part of this establishment. There's some people playing Johann Sebastian Bach Concerto in D minor for 2 violins.
Which is a lovely song.
It's a lovely song. So she finds JP, and he's surrounded by women. She asks if he owns a place, and he says, and everything in it. She tries to hand him her business card, and he tries to give her one of his roses. She says that she isn't his type because she's out of grade school. We do see Terry across the bar who's drinking, staring at JP like she doesn't approve him being around all these other women. Because they're supposed to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Supposed to be.
It seems ridiculous, but okay.
Right. Then we cut to a wartime scene where she's wearing an all-white dress, watching American soldiers as they're being shot at. A helicopter comes down to try to rescue them. One of the soldiers is being shot in the chest, and it looks really bad. 2 soldiers are trying to help him as they get gunned down, and the chopper takes off, leaving him without helping him. And she's screaming at the helicopter because her daddy is still alive, and they could have saved her daddy. One of the soldiers here is played by the director, Anthony Hickox. She's woken up from the dream by the phone ringing. It's Terry who agrees to talk to her if she'll let her spend the night at her place because her boyfriend throws her out. Joey asks if she means tonight, and she's like, of course, unless you have a guy over or something. And Joey says, no, she was just having bad dreams anyway. So once Terry's there, she asks about her dreams, and she tells her that her father died before she was even born in Vietnam. Terry says, that's great, which Joey thinks is offensive at first, but she means that because Terry can't dream at all. She says she's just never been able to do it. Terry asks if Joey has a cigarette, and she gives her one, and while Joey is quitting, Terry convinces her to have one anyway. When Joey even hints about wanting to know about the events at the hospital, Terry starts to freak out a little bit, saying that she barely knew the guy, she would dance with him, but she never slept with him or anything. She calls the guy a thief, saying that he must have taken it from the statue. And when she asks what one, she says that thing. Joey doesn't understand what she's talking about and wants to know where the chains came from. Terry says that was what she's been trying to tell her and pulls out the Lament Configuration puzzle box from her bag. Although this one looks all burnt and damaged, and it's like all dark gray instead of gold and black. Which I think happened during the electrocution.
Right.
There's an extra scene here from the unrated version where a few employees walk by JP's room telling him that they're done for the night before mumbling that he's such a dick. It's really blurry and the best footage that Arrow Video could find to add it back into the scene. It's also not letterbox, which gives away that the scene is extra here. Which I just thought was interesting. They were like, we wanted to put together, give you more scenes that were shot for the movie, but just so you know, when the quality drops drastically during the movie, it's because that's the best quality we could find. JP comes out, lights a cigarette before looking at the pillar. He thinks he hears something inside and decides to reach his hand in it. A rat bites his hand and he tries to shake it free, which sends blood onto the pillar, which seems to wake it up. The rat is then flung across the room. He was just trying to look for one place to stay.
I know. The real tragedy in this is the poor rat.
It was not a real animal, though. Apparently it was a stuffed animal that they made look real by just continually moving the whole take so that you never got a good look at it.
Yeah.
The next morning, Joey's coming down to find Terry trying her best to burn breakfast. Joey asks her if cooking is always this exploratory, and she says she doesn't know because she's never tried it before. She's a kitchen virgin.
This is such a trope, too.
Yeah.
Like the person burning toast and whatever, because that's easy to do. Like, I mean, like, all you do is put the bread in the toaster and push the thing down. Like,
I know.
It does all the work for you.
When she's like, maybe that's not toasted enough. We'll do it 3 more times.
Yeah, right.
Joey says she'll boil some water. Or Terry tries to jump in saying, I'll do it. And she's like, no, I got it. Trust me. Terry gets all emotional about the view, standing by the window with no pants on. Joey says that she has to solve this thing. And Terry tells her that she found the statue for JP because she knew he would like it and he bought it for the club. Joey asks if she would know the place again if she saw it because they are going shopping. And we cut to the front of the Pyramid Gallery where they're trying to knock in there. A guy across the way is walking by with a dog, said that the owner has been out of town for a month. Terry says bullshit because her boyfriend bought something for the place a week ago, and the man said he couldn't have and just walks away. And then Terry shows Joey that she can pick a lock, and they get in very easily. Joey asks if she breaks into art galleries a lot, and she says she only breaks into places if it's raining and she needs a place to sleep. They start looking through files, and Joey asks how much she thought JP paid for it, and she says whatever it took. Joey explains that the place is a scam because they buy their art from high school classes, bankrupt sales. Terry interrupts saying, and closed down lunatic asylums. And now we understand how the pillar got there. She pulls out a file on the Chernard Institute, which has drawings of the box. At the club, JP is looking for his next fling and signals the bartender, who again is played by Peter Atkins, to deliver a rose to a woman of his choosing. He dances with many other people on his way over to her, and that woman gets very excited to meet him and to get his rose. He says she won that because she's the most exceptionally beautiful woman in the club, and she says there's so many beautiful women here, or the way she says it is, there's so many beautiful girls here. But he says that she can't put herself down like that. And they cut to her bedroom having sex. Her hands seem to be tied at the head of the bed, while the statue, or the Pillar of Souls, seems to be watching. Although Doug Bradley would say that it was a closed set, and he was actually never there when they were doing the sex scene. Because they panned back and forth to show it. So they filmed him watching at a separate time to give it a close set for the actress, right? Huh. Interestingly, too, the actress got hired for the role without reading the script, and when she got to the sex scene, she said she would absolutely not do it because she was not going to show her breast on film. So they came to the agreement.
Yeah, I noticed.
It was very noticeable that the actor's just holding her breast the whole time.
Yep.
So you can't see her nipples. Which he had to pay for the art, I guess.
I definitely noticed that he was deliberately covering her breast the whole time. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, the director says made it seem more sexual,
yeah.
But
you could also see through it. I mean, in the sense of it was obvious why they were doing that.
Right. Joey's now calling, trying to get the tape of Kirsty from the previous events, or like the tapes of the hospital. She's put on hold for a while before she's put on with Dr. Fallon. Right when she gets on the phone with him, Terry starts to leave, and she puts the doctor on hold, telling Terry, just wait a second. Let me get off the phone. Wait a second. Don't leave yet. So the doctor's really friendly with her, says, yeah, he'll send the tapes right over, which I think is bullshit.
Yeah.
But after she gets off the phone, she tells Terry that she's got a spare bedroom she's doing nothing with, and she could stay here as long as she wants. Terry gets so excited and agrees to make breakfast every morning, and then they share a laugh.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Now that the sex is over, JP seems to have lost all interest in this woman. She's walking around admiring his art collection. He just acts like he doesn't care about her. She gets really mad, saying, but you gave me a rose. And he says, and tomorrow I'll give it to somebody else. She's obviously pissed, starts to insult him. He wants his shirt back and for her to get out of his life. She starts to back up right by the pillar, and she gets close enough that chains whip out, hooking inside her skin, spins her around, gets pulled up face to face with Pinhead. She screams, then her skin is ripped off, which I think is an homage to the first two films, which we had a person with no skin, and then she's sucked into the pillar. Interestingly, because like every film, they had to use a skinnier person every time to portray the same person. Mm-hmm. They got the woman that played Terry to play this skinless person because she was a lot thinner.
I feel like the dialogue and everything, he's not really as surprised as he should be by this pillar eating a girl. He reacts like that's just kind of an unfortunate thing that happens sometimes, like in his life, that pillars once in a while eat women after he has sex with them. And it's like, oh, man.
Well, yeah, I think he's a little bit of shock. He does say Jesus Christ, and Pinhead says, not quite.
Yeah, but he doesn't say it. I don't know. He doesn't seem that shocked to me. I think it just falls in the bad acting category, combined with maybe not great dialogue.
Yeah, Pinhead asks if he enjoyed the girl. He says yes, and Pinhead says, well, so did I. JP points out that it's not the same thing, and what he did is fucking evil. Then he pulls out a silver-plated Desert Eagle 357 Magnum. Pinhead knows that it's the same gun that JP used to kill his parents. He puts 3 bullets into Pinhead, but unfortunately Pinhead just spits them right back out. JP drops to the floor crying, and Pinhead starts to give him praise based on all the art he collects. He tells them that they can work together. Some of his employees run up to check because they heard the gunshots.
Which, by the way...
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that his home has such good soundproofing that he can be literally adjacent to the club and you hear nothing.
Yes.
And at the same time, while in the noisy club, they heard the gunshots from him. Come on.
They're pretty loud.
Yeah, but so is a full volume like club, you know.
They obviously had a gunshot detector.
Okay, sure.
Right, which
Yeah.
are standard in clubs. I'm just kidding.
They didn't like break down the door or anything. They weren't that upset about
That's
it.
true. Well, probably because he does a lot of freaky stuff.
I guess so.
And they were just wanted to make sure that their boss wanted them in. I don't know. As he backs away from the door, slowly, Pinhead promises him flesh, power, and dominion. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love Dominion. I own every expansion for this board game.
Cool.
And all the promos that have ever come out. So, yeah. So if
that's
he's going to
almost
play
worth
board
it.
games, that might be worth it.
Yeah.
Right? JP opens a diamond-shaped hole in the door to let the guards know that everything's fine, so they walk away. We see Joey walking out of work, and Doc runs up to say she got a package, and he lets her know that if she needs help with a story, he's there to help her. Then we cut to these tapes, which have new footage of Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty.
Now, hang on. When she opens this tape case,
Yep.
I swear the sound effect is a gunshot.
It was weird.
I don't understand what that's all about. I mean, I don't know if it was they just didn't know what other sound effect to use to make it try to sound like a case. It did not sound like a tape case opening.
You're right. I thought that was weird too. But I think it's really cool that they got the same actress to come back to play Kirsty. And she's in this room explaining about the demons in the puzzle box, which is supposed to be footage that was taken when she was in the insane asylum.
Yeah, and it made sense, and it worked. Yeah,
I liked it. I just liked that they brought her back.
me too. It was really
pretty
cool.
The footage cuts, and we see World War I British Army officer Captain Elliot Spencer.
Yeah.
Who, if you don't remember, is the human version of Pinhead in the events of Part 2, where his human and demon half were split into two. He looks right at her and says, "She's telling the truth, Joey," before it cuts back to Kirsty. Joey rewinds the tape to play it again, but this time it's just static and it's not there.
This tape also, I believe this tape was where Kirsty said something about how the box kind of wants to open itself or something like that.
Yeah.
That was something you had said when we talked about the earlier movies, and we kind of had some discussion about that. But it's like here they kind of resolve that and say, no, it pretty much just opens itself. You don't really have to do anything.
I thought it was like, wait, she touched it for 10 seconds. Why is it opening? And
Yeah.
And you were saying, yeah, I think they're trying to show that time has progressed.
But apparently
and they're figuring
not.
it out.
Apparently not. I mean, apparently you were right, because...
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know that I see it as I was just right. I think both can be true. I think time could have still progressed, but the box wants to be opened, so it lets you open it.
I guess.
I think both are fine. We cut to Terry, who's reading a book about the battles of the 20th century.
It's a little strange.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess it ties up to this whole World War I thing.
Right, but that's not her. Well, maybe she's just investigating out of concern for Joey or something.
No, but I think she's in Joey's apartment, and this is Joey's book.
Oh, that makes sense. Right. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that.
On the top of the TV is the lament configuration, which seems to have started healing itself because it is now bronze in color instead of the burnt gray. Terry notices something different and walks over to it. She thinks that Joey must have polished it up before picking it up and looking at it, and she sits back down and starts to rub it, and she's already trying to figure it out, but luckily the phone rings before she gets the first step done. She picks it up expecting it to be Joey, but it's JP who is calling to check on her. When she asks how he got the number, he says, "Remember that your girlfriend left cards all over this place." She tells him that Joey's going to get her job at the TV station, and he wants to know if she has thought about him. She says that she has, but he was really bad for her. He says that he's a bad guy, but he tried not to be when it was her, and he really misses her. He asks her to come over, saying nothing heavy, just a few drinks, and we'll see how we feel. She says she can't, and she hangs up the phone.
Going back to her playing with the frickin' box.
Yeah.
Like, she literally saw the box,
Yes.
eat someone, and she's like, "This seems like a good idea," right? Like, this makes no sense to me. I as a decision, I cannot understand this.
There's a lot of times I feel like that in the Saw movies, where in Saw 2, the SWAT team is storming the place that Jigsaw is at. 3 officers go up this staircase. When you step on this one stair, it triggers a trap for the next stair, which swings out this big thing that breaks your legs. You fall down. So the officer falls down. He pushes the other two against the gate, which electrocutes them because they didn't know all of a sudden it's electrocuting them now. So 2 people are dead. 1 guy has his legs broken. Cut 5 minutes later when Jigsaw says the answers you're looking for are in this room over here, which is another metal cage. And they're like, okay, let's go in. I'm like, what? What? No! Why would you do this?
Yeah, really.
But yeah, I get it. So that's a more extreme case of thing. But yeah. So when the phone rings again, she doesn't want to answer it, and it's left to the answer machine. And out loud, it's a guy telling Joey that she's got the job in Monterey, and now she's going to have to sell him her condo. Later, Joey gets home, is confused why the place is all a mess, and calls out for Terry, and then finds a note on the answer machine that says, "Enjoy Monterey, you liar." We get another badly recovered scene, which isn't in a letterbox, which shows Joey at a restaurant. She's bought some coffee, and she's just staring into it when we see JP's reflection inside the coffee, and he's coming to get her. She has the bag with all her possessions in it when she gets to his room. He locks a lot of locks on the doors, saying it's not a good neighborhood and that people disappear. He says the place is just like she left it, but she says something's changed. She points out the pillar, and he says that a girl he knows has done some work on it. She seems to get a little jealous. He's like, oh, it's not like that, baby.
She put her heart and soul into it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what 80s movies are great for, those kind of lines.
Yeah,
That's
it's 92 though.
Well, it's very 80s to me.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's also very American, where the first 2 were very British.
Yeah.
I mean, besides a few key people that worked on the first film, all the people working on it now are American.
Yeah.
As they bought the license. They bought this in a package deal with the Children of the Corn franchise as well.
Oh, interesting.
So they have the scene where he's trying to reconnect with her. He's standing by the pillar saying she needs to come hug him. And she's saying, no, you need to come to me. And he goes, well, if I go to you on that bed, I don't want it to lead to something that it might. So she says, okay, that makes sense. And she goes towards him to the pillar. Then we cut back to Joey in the dream with her father. She's standing in the trenches and she's approached by Captain Elliot Spencer, who welcomes her. But it's so noisy around her that it's deafening. She sees her father die again. She screams herself awake. When she comes to, the TV is on, but it's only displaying static. But then cutting in and out is Captain Elliot Spencer saying that she has to help him. We cut back to JP, who's lighting a cigarette for Terry, who's trying to convince Terry that Joey isn't her friend. He does say the line when he's trying to get her to go to the pillar, "Come to daddy," which is what Larry said in the first movie.
Yeah. She didn't take that much persuading.
You're not wrong.
I mean, especially considering everything she knows about him already. And yeah, well.
So she comes halfway and stops. He doesn't have the patience and grabs her, which scares her. But at the same moment, Pinhead on the pillar wakes up screaming. They fall out on the ground, and Terry is able to get the upper hand, knocking him out and making it to the door. Unfortunately, there's a double bolt, so she can't get out. Right as she makes it to the door, Pinhead tries to convince her that she could try for the key in JP's pocket, but his way is better and would lead to what she truly wants. She asks how, and Pinhead says give JP to him, adding that hell has no fury like a woman scorned. JP starts moving, but she gets on the ground and uses both her legs to push him over the pillar.
Once again, she doesn't take that much convincing.
Right? JP wakes up just as Pinhead sends the chains out to hook his body and shoves pistons in his head. The pillar of soul starts to come alive, falling apart, and very gooey scene. Pinhead is standing there, and his hand is reaching out to Terry. I think the writer said that he has one of the pieces of the pillar of soul that fell apart, still in his apartment.
That must be worth some money.
It's got to be, right? It's 3:10 in the morning. Joey must have fallen back to sleep because she wakes up again. She hears faint music, which speaks of boys in trenches, and she sees glowing coming from a closet. She opens it to reveal an old-time radio. It's playing jazz, and we see that it isn't plugged in, and she starts to tune the dial. Interestingly, I watched 3 commentaries. They all get excited about this radio, but the way they do it is annoying because the person goes, "Is that the radio from?" And the guy goes, "Yes, it is."
Oh.
And they're like, "How'd you get that?" It's like, "We just ordered from a props place and they sent it over, and it had on the CV that it was in that movie," but they never say the name of the movie. And I couldn't. I tried Reddit, I tried Google, I couldn't figure it out. But apparently, I'm guessing it was some British thing. But they were excited about it. So she eventually hears Captain Elliot Spencer telling her to go to the window. She pulls back the curtains. Instead of the great view from earlier, it's connected to the room where Captain Elliot Spencer first solved the puzzle box. She reaches her arm, and her arm disappears past an invisible barrier. The director used this same trick in Waxwork 2 as they're traveling through time or something like this, and he says it's fine if you steal from your own material. Interestingly, Captain Alex Spencer there is a dummy because they didn't want the actor to have to remain still the whole time. Mm-hmm. They paid for a dummy to be made. When she finally does go through the barrier, she uses like a breaststroke to get through, which I thought was funny. She tries to speak to Elliot, but he doesn't move. And when she starts yelling at him, a door to the side of the room opens, and she goes through, transported back to the trenches.
See, this whole thing, at this point so far, you don't know, at least I didn't understand what had happened.
Right.
And I did not understand that there were two versions of Pinhead now.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, of course, at the end it was clarified, but at this point, I'm thinking they're implying that she is literally Pinhead's daughter, because I can't tell the difference between her freaking dad and this guy because I'm
blind. War what in Vietnam.
Well, because I'm very blind.
Yeah, right.
I'm astonishingly blind, and so I was like, oh wow, what if she's Pinhead's daughter, and this is all gonna, and that was just completely the wrong direction.
That is totally a Freddy Krueger plotline. I love that. I love that. So she walks up past a bunch of bodies. I think they added more of the recovered footage here, which shows a lot more gory corpses. And then we have a lot of exposition as she climbs out of the trench. He says she's not dreaming. He introduces himself. He calls her a brave girl because she's probably never talked to a ghost before.
Well, she's also pretty brave. She's walking through all this extreme carnage, wartime carnage, and acting like, oh, that's kind of interesting. She's pretty brave, sure.
She asks him, right. She asks him what the hell is going on, and he says hell is exactly what's going on, and they have to stop it.
Oh, just stop hell, no problem.
Yeah. He says he's trapped in a limbo between heaven and hell. He says that he can't act in her world, but she needs to act to stop a monster, and that monster is him. He takes her back through his life, saying that the war destroyed his generation, sinning most in drinking, but he went further with exploring hidden pleasures. Apparently, Doug Bradley did do a lot of research in this because it was in the script about how after World War I, a lot of soldiers did come back diving into alcoholism or sex addiction.
Oh, yeah.
From the traumas of the war, which I think was interesting.
That is interesting. What I thought was interesting was the concept that he describes of how all the dreams are connected together, and that's how he got to her dream from
one war dream to the other.
From one war dream to the other war. Like that's a neat concept. All the world's dreams being connected in one big.
Yeah, and Peter Atkins seems like a really nice guy here who gave Tony Randall credit for writing the movie because he said one of them came up with the idea of a girl who dreams about her dead father, which connects to the World War I dreams, was one plot line. The other guy was, well, what if we do a movie about a guy that owns a nightclub and uses all this demonic imagery, and Pinhead finds a way in. And when the director was fired and Atkins got to keep writing the script, he basically merged the two ideas together. So he wanted to give him the writing credit because half the ideas were his, which I think is a great guy to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of cool.
And I was also kind of connecting it to, like, in my head, we covered the movie Maribito a while back.
A long time ago.
And I liked one of the things I loved about that movie was this idea of just this sort of seamless, gradual connection between the netherworld and our world in the form of an underground kind of labyrinth.
Yeah.
And I see a parallel here, that this idea that, like, we don't normally get into each other's dreams, but they're actually all continuously connected if you know how to get from one to the other. It's also a neat idea.
That is cool. So Elliot goes on to say that a friend freed him, and she knows that friend is Kirsty Cotton. She's confused why the monster still exists, and he says that the evil is too strong to stay hidden in her world. But basically he tells her that she can act in her world, and he can't act in her world. So he needs her to bring Pinhead to him in this dream to pull Pinhead through this window.
One more thing.
You're good.
There. Had a little speech about how inventive and persuasive Pinhead is.
Yeah, that's important. You're right.
But even like when he was saying that, like, I mean, again, we don't know enough to really trust him yet, you know, because we don't really understand yet that it's two separate. So, like, I'm just like, well, is this the trick? Like, is this what, you know?
Sure. I see what you're saying.
I mean,
Yeah.
how do you know, right? Like,
Right. You look trustworthy. Yeah.
exactly.
I get what you're saying. Back at the club, we have another real band, Triumph, who's playing their song Troublemaker. We get a few shots of different people, and the creepy decorations start to come to life, including a creepy baby with barbed wire around it, a humanoid that has barbed wire around it, a naked mannequin on the wall, which starts squeezing a heart, and that heart starts bleeding. An explosion happens on the second floor walkway, sending a person flying to the bar, while another one's holding on from the rafters. The music changes to an epic score as Pinhead reveals himself to the club, and he says, "Shall we begin?"
Now we are actually raising hell.
Right.
Finally, the name of the movies makes sense in the third installment.
Yeah, right. As hook chains start to catch people, one guy stopped a hook from grabbing his girlfriend's face, like so heroic, but as a reward, his hand is cut to shit.
Yeah, of course.
People are being killed in ridiculous ways, including a liquid coming out of a woman's drink, floating in the air in the shape of an ice pick, stabs her in the mouth.
Yeah, apparently Pinhead is like insanely powerful now,
Right.
which I think this is the most powerful he's been so far in all the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So right before this kill, though, a pool stick flies through a guy and hits him in the stomach. That actor was Zach Galligan, who was the main actor of Gremlins 1 and 2. But he was also in the Waxworks movies, which were directed by Anthony Hickox. So since he was there just hanging out with the director, he asked him if he would be willing to die in his movie. So he died in his movie as an extra, not as a paid actor. One of the DJs, who's looking surprisingly nonchalant about this, has CDs float into the air and starts stabbing him in multiple places and a blindfold over his eyes. And the reasons for this kill will come back a little bit later.
Yeah.
The doors are sealed off in a very Carrie style. The rest of the group is killed off and blood starts pouring out from under the doors.
The CD kill reminds me a little bit of an old arcade game from like the maybe early 90s or something like that. So some old arcade game where you shoot CDs at the bad guys to kill them with the power of rock music.
It was done again in Y2K.
Yeah?
Recently.
It's a good gimmick.
Yeah. Joey wakes up on the couch to a news report that's saying something's crazy is happening at the boiler room. She calls Doc to ask him to turn to channel 12 and to meet her at the boiler room. We do see on his TV, not the same thing is playing. We do get a shot, I think, of the Waxworks movie, which the director put his own movie in there just to show him flipping by. When she arrives, it's raining a lot. She sees the Channel 8 vehicle, but Doc isn't in there. She runs towards the back and sees that there's a door swinging open, and it looks like it's just waiting for her to come inside. Inside, it's very dark. We see a lot of bodies, many of them killed in very inventive ways, like billiard balls shoved down someone's throat. We have a man decapitated, one hung by his tongue. The body count is extremely high. I couldn't possibly cover them all.
But when you see the camera guy with his head replaced by a camera, I lolled. That was hilarious to me. It's just...
One of the bodies is wrapped in the lights. When she turns around, she sees Doc is holding his own decapitated head.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Right.
It's funny because now he's literally the cameraman.
Right. Pinhead comes in telling her that he sees beauty all in death, which can be heard in a song like razors in the skin. She says she doesn't believe him, and he says she can hear it now. He says he'll turn up the volume. She says she's there to send him back to hell. He tells her to give him the box. He can free her from her future.
That's not... After all this, he's so persuasive. He just says, give me the box. Like, right. Okay, yeah, right. Real persuasive.
Right. He gets angry and offers to kill her without making her hear the music, which I think means he doesn't want to make her a Cenobite, maybe. Then they banter for a little bit longer. He tries for the box, but it just zaps him, which sends her running off outside where it's no longer raining. Unfortunately, she runs right into the road and is almost hit by a cab, which swerves out of the way and hits a pole, which detaches from electric lines, which start to come after her.
I mean, all this stuff, there's just so much crazy fireworks that go on in this scene.
They destroy this city street.
I know. This and the last scene, I mean, this and the scene in the actual club, like, they had way too much fun making this. Way too much fun.
I think after they were done, they weren't allowed to film on that street anymore. But they got it all done fast, I think, or something.
I mean, but even with all the fireworks and all the craziness, Pinhead's aim is terrible.
Oh, sure.
With all that power, he is the worst shot. He's like at the level of a Stormtrooper.
Yeah, we have manhole cover that flies at her head and she ducks. It hits a sign that says Larry's, which was an homage to the Larry character. There is an actual store here called Elm Street. They didn't make that up. It was really there on the street. People were like, "Oh, they put that there," and like, "No, we didn't." Then we get the Cenobites that are very 90s to show up. The first one is Doc, aka Camerahead, who is sporting a camera inside his right eye. Right behind her are a lot of TVs in the storefront displaying the images that he is recording. As the camera zooms in, she acts like a missile was launched in her direction, and it happens to play out like one actually did because the TVs from the store behind her all explode. She runs into a random guy in the street who doesn't understand why she's running. That man is killed by Camerahead as he's in the camera zooming his way right through his head, and we get a cool shot as we look through his head and see Joey through that hole. And then he gets to deliver the cheesy line, "Are you ready for your close-up, Joey?"
There are so many of these great cheesy lines.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this. I love it. so great.
Then she's running back past the cab driver who is pursued by CD Head.
More of those deadly CDs,
Right.
Razor CDs. Yeah.
CD Head throws a high-velocity CD and kills the cab. I thought it would have been cooler if it, like, ejected from his mouth, though. Like, instead of just picking up CD and throwing it, if it, like, shot out of his mouth.
I completely agree.
That would have been cooler.
That would have been, but it probably would have been harder to do.
Yeah, that's true.
I really like the new Cenobites. They're fun.
Yeah, they are fun. I do, too. Then from a hole in the brick in the wall comes a Cenobite that looks like a baby that was hanging earlier with the barbed wire all around it. But it's an adult shape now, still bald-headed, chubby, wrapped all in barbed wire, hence the name Barbie. Barbie is the bartender Rick, who is played by the writer of the second, third, and fourth movie, Peter Atkins, who in the commentary joked at the time of filming this, they had to add a lot of fat to make him look like that, but if they filmed it now, they wouldn't have to. When he opens his mouth, flames shoot out and attack Joey.
That's a power.
Yeah. Joey starts to run some more, and we see that Camerahead, CD Head, and Barbie are all walking after her. A police cruiser drifts around the corner, followed by another, and a female officer hops out, not listening to Joey's story and just trying to get her to calm down. The other two officers are already taking aim with their revolvers. CD Ed takes one of the officers out with a CD to the face, and so then both the other officers open fire. The bullets have no effect on Barbie, who then throws a thermos full of liquid at them. Then Barbie opens his mouth to launch the fire at them. We find out that that was gasoline he threw at them. And so Joey jumps out of the way, and the two cops, in the very comical, I'm not going to run anywhere, I'm just going to scream because I'm about to die,
Yeah.
explode.
Indeed.
Camerahead gets to deliver the line, "That's a wrap."
So many of these.
Joey runs into a church, falls when she gets in, dropping the limit configuration, though she picks it right up. Interestingly, they filmed the outside of the church without permission because they weren't allowed to film in the church. They had to build their own church for this side. But they waited till no one was awake at night to just film her running to the church because they didn't have permission.
And that might explain why, to me, the church looked really evil inside.
Sure, yeah.
I was struck by how evil it looked.
Well,
And
they built it really fast.
that's why. I think
Yeah.
because it wasn't built in like a traditional church style. It was more of a horror movie creator's impression of what a church should look like.
Right. She starts to scream to the priest, "Help me, they're coming." He asks, "Who's coming?" She says the demons, but he reassures her that demons aren't real. She turns around when Pinhead's coming in.
What priest would say that?
I don't know.
That's insane. Does he not even believe in God?
Well, I've heard this a lot in another horror movies too, which we've covered, where demons are a metaphor. They're like
priests don't say that.
Well, in that movie too, the Pope's exorcist.
Yeah.
That one cardinal did. He was saying that the demons are a metaphor and all this stuff. I'm just fascinated by this.
I don't think that any priest in the Catholic Church would ever say that any part of the religion is not real and is just a metaphor. I don't think they would say God is a metaphor, or Jesus is a metaphor, or devil is a metaphor. I think they would believe literally every teaching of the church, or at least pretend to.
Okay. All right.
I can't imagine that happening.
Yeah, I guess
maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard debates of different things, like people that believe that the 7 days is a metaphor for like 7 eons in Genesis and stuff like that. But anyway, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
But what I love is after he says demons aren't real, Pinhead enters. She points out and she says, "Then what the fuck is that?" Which I love that line. And that's one of Doug Bradley's favorite lines, too, from the commentary. He, said it at the same time she did. Which is great. The priest is too shocked to move. She forces him backwards, and the stained glass windows start to explode. The priest holds up a cross, but Pinhead is able to melt the metal, which burns the priest's hand.
And to me, that just makes it seem like religion has no power in this universe.
Yeah, it seems to be. You're not wrong.
And what that means is, that immediately made me wonder, is this not the true faith in the Hellraiser universe? Is the religion of God and the devil and all that, is that not the true faith? And really, the Leviathan is the only true God in this universe?
Yeah, maybe. Pinhead goes to stand behind the pillars. He pulls pins from his head with the worms in it. He sticks the pins in his hands, recreating Jesus' crucifixion marks, I guess. Then he goes through the Last Supper routine, quoting that he is the flesh. He tries to make the priest eat him. And they thought this was going to be a lot more controversial. So in the commentaries, they talk about how newspapers didn't write about it. And they thought either it was so bad that no one wanted to touch it or that no one just cared.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they thought it would cause a lot more drama than it did. And it didn't really. She tells Pinhead to come and get it and runs outside onto a construction site. That's when JP and Terry show up back in their new Cenobite formations, which are Pistonhead and Dreamer. Dreamer has a hole in her neck like the Cenobite Deep Throat before her, but this one has a cigarette that's always there in place and says she can dream now. Pistonhead jumps in to say that she should relax because being a Cenobite is better than sex. They start to tease her when Pinhead shows up to say his part will come after he lets them play with her for a little bit. This whole time she's messing with the puzzle box. The other three Cenobites show up. She gets the first step of the puzzle going, and the cube activates, start moving it on its own, and then zaps Camerahead, Barbie, and CD Head back to hell.
By the way, I love their outfits.
Yeah.
Just fantastic.
It zaps Pinhead, but he isn't taken away already. But it does zap Pistonhead and Dreamer, and they're taken away so fast from us before we really got to know them. Pinhead struggles longer, and we see that he is gone, and the puzzle box closes. She calls for Elliot, saying that it seemed to work, but she didn't bring him through the window. Then the area surrounding her turns into the field of her dreams. Then her father comes to her, saying that he was somewhere shiny, and a voice told him that his daughter would be there and it'd go to her. And he's like, "Is it you, Joey?" She believes it's her reward and goes to hug him. When she does, she doesn't see his face he makes behind her. He says he was told that she would have something for her that she didn't need anymore. Mm-hmm. She tells him to take it, and the moment she lets go, she figures it out.
That's so stupid. Yeah.
Right.
Like,
she asks him, "How did you know my name?" since he died before she was born. His voice turns into Pinhead's, thanking her before completely reverting back to Pinhead. She thinks it's unfair that he invaded her mind, and he says that the Nightmare world is a door and is waiting to be opened, which thinking of the door makes her think of the window. As he brings out the blade, the surrounding area turns into the attic, and Captain Elliot Spencer is there waiting. Two interesting things here. One, this is the first time we see Pinhead out in the daylight. Like, we might have seen him at daytime, but inside of a building. But this is the first time we really see him with, blue backlit. And they thought that was a bold move for the director to do. And some people didn't like it. The other thing is, when we see Elliot Spencer and Pinhead together in the same scene, they had to use a double to play Pinhead. And every actor or writer or everybody in this that was working on this movie in any way tried to convince the director they actually look a lot like Doug Bradley, and they all wanted to portray Pinhead. He said people that were short, tall, skinny, fat, it didn't matter. They all tried to convince the director that they look exactly like Doug Bradley so they could play Pinhead, which I think is funny.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, and there was a line in there where Pinhead says something like, "Down the dark decades of pain, this will seem like a memory of heaven." And I just thought that was a great line. That's it's just what a wonderfully dramatic way to say you're fucked.
Right. So they start fighting here. Joey is tied up by her hands to the ceiling. A worm-like creature.
And he says something like, "I like you better this way."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I like her better this way."
She gets a leather strap around her mouth, this worm-like creature that has a very white substance protruding out of its mouth, which is very penis-shaped, I would say. It starts coming at her. I didn't know if it was going to screw her or make her into a Cenobite or just torture her. Not sure. But they then have this battle between themselves. They end up merging in a very bad CGI, or at least it's aged poorly.
They have weird head sex with each other somehow, and yeah, it's very strange.
Then they're put back into one. Pinhead's ready to be like, all right, come after Joey. But Elliot is able to kind of merge the head back to human to tell Joey to send him to hell. She's able to reach for the box. She does the twisting it into a diamond. She makes it into the Leviathan shape. Pinhead approaches to try to stop her, and she stabs him, saying, "Go to hell." Blue electric beams zap Pinhead and send him into the lament configuration before reverting back to the cube shape, falling on the dirt of the construction site. So the area's changed again. As dusk comes, she finds some wet cement on the site and places the cube inside.
Yeah, that'll work.
We cut to years later after the building's been built, and directly above the spot is a massive piece of art that has been displayed, which looks like it's inspired by the lament configuration.
And I really like it, by the way.
And it
the
is
building.
All right. Well, the art outside is real.
That's awesome.
Like that, they found this real piece of art. They're like, yeah, let's pretend like this sprouted because of the lament configuration.
I hope that still exists, because I would like to see that. That's a cool looking building.
Right. And then as we walk inside the building, we see that the lobby, many of the walls are decorated with the patterns of the lament configuration, and one of the desks in the background is actually in the shape of the Q, and it's kind of cool that someone's desk is a lament configuration
really
cube.
Cool. Yeah.
Then the credits start rolling, and Hellraiser by Motorhead plays, which was co-written by Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, the trash metal throughout this this movie is pretty fun. I enjoyed the soundtrack. It's interesting that we didn't get a scene with the Guardian reclaiming the box.
Yep.
This time,
because it was buried. Yeah.
Well, you recovered it from the fire. I mean, like you would think you could unbury it, but instead, it's like you said, it's sprouted like a plant and grown this entire building, which I assume is a setup for the next movie.
Yeah, partly.
I haven't seen the next movie yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's bonkers. I love it. Like it was written to be a certain way, and then studio involvement made them change the way it was laid out.
Yeah.
Apparently, the original layout of the film still exists, so we might see it one day, like a original intended cut, because it was intended to be 3 anthology stories that link all together.
I see.
But they merged them all into
one
kind of
story.
happening at the same time.
Yeah. I think it would have been a fun watch with some friends and some candy in 1992.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it really holds up.
Yeah, sure.
I still enjoyed watching it, but I don't think it's I wouldn't call it a super high quality movie.
Right. So earlier I talked about the many different versions of Hellraiser 3 that were pitched, but apparently the one where Pinhead opens a brothel, the script was actually written, and Peter Atkins says it's out there on the gray market and people do sell it.
Huh.
And you probably could find it.
Well, I don't care to.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here for this one.
Ah, yes. So see you in hell, Razor Bloodline.
Oh my God. Bye.
Bye.